In 1987, a Chinese-American grocer named Henry Liang opened a small produce store in San Francisco's Chinatown. When his parents died, they left him $840,000. His parents had been a dishwasher and a seamstress, and they had never owned a car. There was no investment account. What there was, folded inside a red envelope in his father's nightstand, was a single sheet of rice paper covered in his grandfather's handwriting. 31 rules, copied in 1923 from a ledger his great-grandfather kept in a Shaanxi banking house called Risheng Chang. Henry ran his store for 31 years, using only those rules. He never carried a dollar of debt in his life. Most of what was written inside would outperform any wealth-building strategy taught in business school today. But here's the twist. Number 11 on this list was so unfashionable by 1990 that adult children begged their immigrant parents to stop doing it. Yet, a 2019 economic study confirmed it as the single most protective financial habit for families building intergenerational wealth. These 15 secrets are not about being rich. They are about refusing to be foolish at the age when foolishness costs the most. Let us count down the 15 forgotten Chinese wealth secrets Confucian merchants used for 500 years. Number 15. The one trade a day rule. A Shaanxi merchant did not chase deals. He waited for one good trade per day, and he refused the rest. The rule came from Confucius himself, who taught that the gentleman acts only when the moment is ripe. A merchant who took every offered deal made many trades and little profit. A merchant who refused 9 deals and took the 10th made fewer trades and more wealth. Lei Lutai turned down customers who arrived in a hurry. Hurry meant desperation, and desperation meant a bad deal hidden somewhere in the offer. The patient trade was not laziness. The patient trade was the price the market paid for self-control. Number 14. The 60-40 household ledger. Every Confucian merchant family kept a single ledger split into 2 columns. 60% of income went to operating the household and reinvesting in the business. 40% went into a sealed strongbox that nobody touched for 10 years. Not for emergencies, not for opportunities, not for weddings. The strongbox was opened only when the merchant turned 60, and it was passed to his eldest son. A study of surviving Shaanxi household ledgers from 1850 showed families using this rule accumulated wealth 4 times faster than families who saved without a system. The strongbox was not greed. The strongbox was a promise to a grandson nobody had met yet. Number 13. The 3-generation purchase test. Before buying any object that cost more than 1 month of income, a Shaanxi merchant asked 3 questions. Will my son use this? Will my grandson use this? Will my great-grandson know what this is? If the answer to any question was no, the merchant did not buy. A jade carving passed the test. A silk robe, fashionable in 1840, did not. Modern behavioral economists have a name for this now. They call it depreciation awareness. The Confucian merchants called it not being a fool. The test was not frugality. The test was the difference between owning something and being owned by it. A Shaanxi merchant did not pay his senior clerks a salary. He gave them an annual share of the firm's profits, called Shengyi Gufen. A clerk who handled the silver vault might own 8% of the year's earnings. A regional manager might own 15%. The owner kept perhaps 40% for himself. The rest was split among 20 trusted men. When the firm grew, every clerk grew with it. When the firm lost, every clerk shared the loss. Embezzlement in Shaanxi houses was almost unknown. A Harvard Business School case study in 2017 called the Shengyi Gufen system the original employee equity model. Silicon Valley discovered it 180 years later and acted as if it had invented something new. First pattern break. Here is where the rules become uncomfortable. The next secret was abandoned by 1960 because it required something modern wealth builders refused to do. Number 11. The slow purse at the marketplace. A Confucian merchant's wife went to the market with her husband's coins, counted out in advance. She did not bring extra. She did not haggle for sport. She walked the entire market once before buying anything, comparing prices and quality at every stall. Only after the full walk did she return to the chosen vendor. The walk took 20 minutes. The savings averaged 18% over 3 decades of marketing. A 2019 study from the University of Michigan called this conscious purchasing pace the single most protective financial habit for households building intergenerational wealth. By 1990, immigrant Chinese American daughters begged their mothers to stop walking the whole grocery store before choosing. The walk was not stinginess. The walk was the small daily discipline that bought a son's education 12 years later. Number 10. The empty boast. A wealthy Shanxi merchant never displayed his wealth. He wore plain blue cotton, even when he could afford imperial silk. He drove a cart, not a sedan chair. He ate the same meal twice a week. The reason was Confucian, but the result was financial. A merchant who looked rich attracted bandits, jealous officials, and greedy relatives. A merchant who looked ordinary kept his fortune intact through wars, famines, and 3 changes of dynasty. Lei Lutai owned the largest bank in northern China, and he was once mistaken for a stable hand at his own warehouse. The plain cotton was not modesty. The plain cotton was the lock on the strongbox nobody could see. Number 9. The aged silver test. Before lending silver, a Shanxi banker bid it, weighed it, and listened to it ring against a brass plate. Pure silver rang clear and long. Adulterated silver thudded short and flat. A counterfeit ingot rang once like a bell, and then went silent. The test took 30 seconds. It saved Shanxi houses from accepting tons of debased coinage during 3 centuries when Chinese silver content varied by region. The technique was so reliable that imperial tax collectors hired Shanxi men to verify treasury silver well into the 1880s. Modern metals trading still uses acoustic resonance to verify precious metals. The bankers in 1850 did the same thing with a brass plate and a careful ear. The test was not paranoia. The test was the cheapest insurance ever written. Every Shanxi merchant read for 1 hour before bed. Not novels, not poetry, account books, trade reports, and letters from regional managers. The hour was sacred. No visitor was admitted. No meal was served. The wife and children stayed out of the room. A merchant who read for 1 hour each night across 40 years had spent 14,000 hours studying his own business. A modern MBA program assigns about 4,000 hours. The reading was done by oil lamp at a desk that faced east. The hour was not work. The hour was the difference between a man who owned a business and a man whose business owned him. Second pattern break. The next secrets are the ones that built dynasties. They violated every instinct modern wealth advice teaches. Number 7. The fixed price rule. A Shanxi merchant did not haggle. The price on the goods was the price. He refused to lower it for charm, friendship, or volume. The rule horrified customers in 1750 China, where bargaining was assumed at every transaction. But Shanxi merchants gained something more valuable than a higher margin. They gained reputation. A customer who learned that the Shanxi price was honest came back for 40 years. He sent his sons. He recommended the shop to strangers. By 1840, the phrase "no haggling at the Shanxi house" had spread to every province in the empire. Modern retail uses the term price integrity. Lei Lutai called it the only marketing a merchant ever needs. The fixed price was not stubbornness. The fixed price was the cheapest reputation a man could buy. Number 6. The 3-meal rule for guests. When a junior partner traveled to a distant city to open a branch, the senior partners fed him 3 full meals before he left. The first meal was at noon, the day before departure. The second was at dawn on the day of travel. The third was packed in a cloth and tied to his saddle. The reasoning was philosophical and financial. A hungry man traveling alone made bad decisions. A fed man traveling alone made good ones. Across thousands of branches opened across China between 1500 and 1900, Shanxi houses lost almost no junior partners to fraud or defection. They were fed before they were trusted. The 3 meals were not hospitality. The 3 meals were the cheapest loyalty contract ever signed. Number 5. The handshake worth a city. A Shanxi merchant did not use written contracts for the first 70 years of his bank's operation. A handshake closed deals worth what would now be millions of dollars. The reason was simple. A written contract could be challenged in court, which meant a corrupt official could overturn it. A handshake between 2 Shanxi men was enforced by the entire merchant community. Break it once, and no Shanxi house would deal with you again. The reputation network was the contract. Modern game theory calls this repeated game cooperation. Lei Lutai called it not being a thief. The handshake was not naive. The handshake was the most expensive enforcement mechanism ever invented. A Shanxi merchant did not hire clerks. He took apprentices at age 12 and trained them for 7 years before they touched a single coin in the business. The first 3 years were sweeping floors, carrying water, and copying old account books by hand. The next 2 years were assisting senior clerks. The last 2 years were managing small transactions under supervision. By age 19, an apprentice knew every system in the firm. He had also been observed for 7 years for honesty, patience, and judgment. A boy who failed any test in any year was sent home with a small gift and no shame. Almost no one failed. Modern corporate training averages 6 weeks. The Shanxi apprenticeship was not slow. The Shanxi apprenticeship was the reason a single firm could operate in 30 cities without a single audit. Third pattern break. The final 3 secrets are the ones every Shanxi family kept in the household ledger above all others. Every Shanxi family kept a portion of their wealth in a form nobody could see. Not silver in the vault, not silk in the warehouse, buried under the kitchen floor, walled into the foundation of the family home, sewn into the lining of a winter coat that hung on a hook for 40 years untouched. The hidden third was the rule Lei Lutai enforced more strictly than any other. He believed that any wealth a thief or an official could find could be taken. Only buried wealth survived dynasties. When the Qing dynasty fell in 1912 and revolutionary armies looted Shanxi cities, the families who survived intact were the ones with hidden thirds. The families with visible wealth lost everything. The hidden third was not paranoia. The hidden third was the only inheritance a child could count on when the world ended. Before opening his shop each morning, a Confucian merchant lit a single stick of incense and spoke aloud the names of 3 people who had helped him in business that year. A customer who paid on time, a clerk who caught an error, a competitor who shared useful information. The practice took 3 minutes. The merchants believed it kept the heart soft and the eye sharp. Modern positive psychology research has confirmed that gratitude practices increase business decision quality and reduce errors driven by stress. The Shanxi merchants knew this in 1650, without any research. The incense was not superstition. The incense was the cheapest mental health treatment ever written into a business plan. This was the master rule, the one that contained all the others. A Shanxi merchant did not plan for the year. He did not plan for the decade. He planned for the century. He chose business partnerships with families he expected his great-grandchildren to know. He bought buildings he expected his great-grandchildren to inherit. He trained apprentices he expected to train their own apprentices 50 years after he was dead. The 100-year horizon shaped every small decision. A clerk hired at age 12 was a 50-year investment, not a salary expense. A piece of land bought in a drought was a gift to a grandson not yet conceived. A Shaanxi merchant who lived to 70 expected his name to be honored in his firm's ledger for 200 years after his funeral. Most were right. Lei Lutai's bank, Rishing Chang, operated continuously from 1823 until 1932, 109 years. Today, the building is a museum. Inside, on a wooden wall, his original ledger still hangs. The handwriting is clear. The discipline is older than the empire that fell around it. Here is my challenge. Pick one. Just one. Walk the entire grocery store before choosing this week. Hide a small portion of your savings somewhere nobody knows about. Spend an hour tonight reading something serious about your own work. See what a Confucian merchant did without thinking about it. Then tell me in the comments which one you tried, and tell me which one surprised you most. Because these were not just business secrets. They were the slow architecture of dynasties built on a single discipline. Lei Lutai's bank outlived 3 emperors. Most modern fortunes do not outlive one funeral. We forgot why.